I know because I noticed this in the gym too. I'm gonna end up going on a tangent about it probably at some point here, but um, again, coming back to like the age appropriate question on teaching some of these concepts. So I was talking. I had a good talk actually with a guy that's coming in to help me with some of the training stuff today about um, you can't teach everyone all the ideas in an optimal way right away. There's like practical considerations that always are going to be a factor for whoever you're teaching. So, as one example, the first week for training this week, we're not even really doing workouts. I'm more just going over what we're going to do and almost doing like a what do they call it? No, yeah, but like what do they call it when like an assessment almost.
Okay, yeah,
Basically
yeah,
like
yeah.
almost,
Functional assessment, we
yeah,
call it.
right? So I'm almost doing it more like an assessment with the group to see where they're at, who I got, like and what they know and remember. And even for the people that do know it and remember it, it's like I used to always go back to beginnings and get my foundation set again as well, right? So for these kids, I'm doing a lot of talking and depending on the group, I change how I'm delivering the message or how much I let them get away with or how seriously I'm taking the instruction and all of that. So with the older group versus the younger group is just fundamentally less serious because I know they don't care about what I'm saying. Okay. So for a lot of these guys, the way I was explaining it to the other trainer I was talking to today is if these guys can walk out of this program at their age, which is 13 for the group I was talking about, and retain 10%, 15%, 20% of what I'm telling them, that's huge. That's huge. Because even with some of the kids that I had last year, which I only had them for a couple months, when I was going over all my review stuff, a lot of them remember a lot of the stuff. It actually stuck with them, right? And they're getting off on a better foot. So I'm going to ask you about this in a second, but one other example I wanted to give, which I said to him also, is my goal in doing these other components of the program that I'm talking about, whether it's nutrition, even components of the training where I get an opportunity to speak with the players, I want to get them to a place where they can think about what they need to do to best suit themselves. So, because as they get older, like there might not be resources. Like you can assume that when you get to a higher level and play higher level, you're going to have the best trainer. You're going to have someone that just wipes your ass and takes care of everything for you and provides you with the best program and that just isn't reality a lot of times, even up to professional levels. Like sometimes their team trainers just aren't good. Like they're just not good, you know?
Not the best,
Not the and
or not the best for you.
Right. So even like with some of like OHL teams or CHL teams or college programs, they have a whole training staff sometimes, and they're just not great. It just is what it is. Sometimes that happens. So what do you do if you don't have a good resource? You're just going to be lost. You need someone to hold your hand the whole time. And so if I can have one goal with this program, it's not that they come out of it with the most optimal program that they've completed from an off ice perspective as a 13-year-old. It's that they've begun to think about what they need to do to train correctly. So the one example I was giving was one of our guys this year. He's going to be playing in the North American League, and he got a program from one of his trainer who's more of like a CrossFit guy. And he came to me with the program and was like some of this stuff doesn't look right. Like it doesn't look like this is what I should be doing.
Smart kid, by the way.
Yes, really smart kid. So he came in and one of the movements in the program was a barbell snatch, for example. And so he came to me, he's like, I don't know, like there's a lot of snatches in here. Like, do you think I should be doing a barbell snatch? And I was like, well, let's talk about it. How often have you done a barbell snatch? It's like a handful of times. Like I don't know that I'm necessarily good at it or proficient at it. I'm like, okay, so what do you think the purpose of the movement is in this program? He's like, well, it's supposed to be for power, but like I don't do snatches a lot. So I'm gonna have, and this is him telling me, I'm gonna have to like figure out the form even, like, and focus on my technique before I can really get the power out of it that I want. And I was like, beautiful. Like that is a perfect example of the work that I've done with you for the last 4 years paying off. Like you just came to me, were able to analyze a program by yourself and say, I don't think this is right necessarily, without just scrapping the whole program and saying this is stupid. So he followed the program. He did it at the gym with us, and he would just come to me and ask, like, what do you think about this movement? If he had a question or he was unsure. And so we ended up tweaking the program so that it fit more for him as an individual, as opposed to just following blindly, this is what my trainer said to do, and then not actually getting the benefit of what's intended from the program. And that is what I want. you know?
Yeah, so essentially, to coin a phrase,
Mm,
you gonna laugh, yeah?
probably.
Yeah. Is but it's true, that's what you wanna do as a coach, as a parent, as anything, is you don't wanna just, like, it's you you feed a give a guy a fish and you feed him for the day. Teach him how to fish, you feed him for life.
New Testament.
Yeah. But isn't it the truth,
Yeah.
right? If you give okay, if someone walks in and that's what you don't want is a bunch of people just walking in, okay, today we're doing squats or whatever, and the kid goes, okay, today I do eight, 3 sets of eight, okay, at 80%, okay, so that's what you do, and you don't think about it, and there's
Mm,
no thought process, and you walk out, and you don't know what you did that day, why you did it. You want your students to be able to ask a question and know what this is for. So like, and I know that you do this, and what I do on the ice too is like today on the ice, it was the same thing. It's like we're going to be doing A, B, and C. The reason we're doing this is because I think there's a deficiency in, like, we'll talk at passing and quick touches and shooting with your feet moving. So we're going to do a lot of reps, and then hopefully you understand. You know, you give them the why, and then you try to apply that every time you're on the ice in these situations, so that they can say, okay, we're doing this because of this,
mhm.
and then maybe it gets them to think, okay, well, why this or whatever, and then anyways they do it and they think about it. They're not just doing a drill or doing a lift and they're walking out and going, okay, what'd you do today? It's like, I did squats. Okay,
Right.
what was it for? My legs are sore, right? So they can think, okay, I did squats, I took a rest here, whatever. And then the other side of it is, as you get older, especially, I remember Dalton telling me this, Charlie will say this to me, you know, other guys, that when they don't feel like, sometimes like, yeah, when you work out and you pay attention to things, you're more in tune with your body and the lifts and what they do for you and stuff. And sometimes if you're just your body, if you're honest, right, you're talking honesty too, if your body is just pooched that day, and squatting is, I'm using that for an example, squatting is, or you got a little bit of soreness somewhere, maybe it's not the best idea. How do I work around it? And you to be able to communicate that with you or a coach and say, like, this is what's going on, is it still a good idea? And then maybe have a conversation and say, yeah, no, it's still good because, or, oh, okay, no, I'm glad you told me because whatever. So Dalton had a lot of trainers in the NHL where he was like, okay, I don't believe in that. I just don't believe in that for my body, right? So he had to have those conversations or do something on the side. He might have to toe the line, but then do something on the side to compensate for that,
Right.
right?
Yeah, and, like, the beauty of this, particularly at their age, is because we have such a long runway with them because we're talking years. We're talking 10 months for this year, but then a lot of them will still be back. So it's like we're talking multiple years of this kind of mindset. They don't even realize what they're learning because they're so young and it's like so impressionable, and the stuff that they're going to absorb just by default because they're around. That is the biggest benefit of being in this kind of environment with the program that we have, you know. So I think that's what is the most exciting about it, and people would never think of that, you know. All of them are like, oh, all this ice, all this cool stuff, the team, where we're going to play, who we're going to play against, and all these things that to me are like second order details. You know, they're second, third order details that are far less important than what their day-to-day interactions are going to be, the day-to-day environment that they get to be in for hours and hours and hours. And you know, with some of these kids that come in too, it's like some of them are not used to having that. And the difference that a lot of these kids are going to have in their life because they get to be in this environment now, that is what the benefit is. That's and it's so funny that it just goes unseen, but here we are, we sit in the background and talk about it because it's unbelievable that they're going to get to sit for multiple hours, 5 days a week, maybe more for weekends and games, that this is the information that's going to be in their head, you know. And it's just not common. It's, you can see when the kids come in, like I sit and do interviews with these kids and no one's ever told them, like no one's ever talked to them like this. No one's ever asked them about what they want to do or where they want to be or how they want to get there or making a plan. It's just not a common mindset that they get exposed to. So that's where the huge benefit is going to be. So